Welcome everyone to another fascinating episode of For the Fans. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. To start with, McKay is actually not here today. He's busy with work, so you only get me and my lovely voice this wonderful Saturday afternoon. Um, so kind of sad because love having McKay's input. He has a lot of good insight. He knows a lot of different players and coaches. He's really good with that. And honestly, I just miss the banter. The banter's a lot of fun. It's half the fun of why we do this show is we love football. We love bantering back and forth with each other. He even messaged me a little bit about football this morning. So he will be missing this episode. Hopefully, he'll be back in the next episode, and we can continue from there and continue having all the fun that we normally do. But with that being said, let's break into the start of the episode. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys see. You guys can start looking at the scores from last week and see how your teams are doing so far. A little bit of news. The Houston Texans have officially fired head coach slash GM Bill O'Brien, B.O.B., after a terrible 0-4 start to the season. Oh my goodness. I know a lot of Texans fans were praying that this day would come, and I think honestly what might have sold it for me on this one, and the reason why he might have been fired, is because he literally got rid of probably their best player in DeAndre Hopkins, and even though Deshaun Watson is good, and even though there are good pieces in the Texans team, getting rid of your number one offensive weapon when he is still in his prime is absolutely a terrible choice, especially if you don't have to do it, and I don't think he really had to get rid of Hopkins. I think he could have done some other things to keep Hopkins around. But under Bill O'Brien, the Texans made the playoffs in 4 of the 6 seasons he was there, and he was part of the main reason that he was heavily criticized was trading DeAndre Hopkins to the Cardinals in exchange for David Johnson, who's just been kind of an okay running back. Like it really didn't make much sense, and a lot of people joked about it, made fun of him for it. But that's just the reality. So Texans, I think, are without a head coach right now. I haven't seen any news on who their new interim coach or who their new head coach is going to be, but it's looking like a disaster in Houston. And honestly, my Jaguars might not finish in last in the division because the Texans are just very lost this season. Um, Other news: Washington football team is benching Dwayne Haskins in favor of Kyle Allen, which this upsets me. I am angry about this for the main reason Kyle Allen was the backup in Carolina behind Cam Newton, who played a few snaps because Cam Newton was out with an injury. Um, and because of that, like Kyle Allen had a good solid few games, but after that, he kind of just fell apart. And me and McKay are both like we really like Alex Smith, and we want to see Alex Smith come back and do well. I definitely don't want him to get hurt because that would be absolutely horrible. I just think he's a good person both on and off the field, and I would just love to see him play again. And I was really hoping when Haskins got in or when Haskins got benched, I was like, oh, we might finally get to see Alex Smith. I'm so happy. And then they're like, no, we're throwing in Kyle Allen instead. I'm like, why? Why does this hurt me so much? And I honestly think part of it's because Ron Rivera was with Kyle Allen in Carolina. Now they're both in Washington. So he's going with the quarterback that he knows the best instead of what I personally think might be the best person for the job. If I would have to say so myself, I'm very confused, and honestly, like me and McKay have been saying, I think the race for the last place in the NFL is probably going to come down between the Giants, the Jets, and the Washington football team. And honestly, I could see all three of them doing the tanking for Trevor and whoever the other quarterback is, because I don't know college football as much as McKay does, which is the other reason he is a very good person to have here, because he knows college football, and I do not. I only pay somewhat attention when it gets closer to draft just to see who these big names coming up and who's going to be taken in the first round, and then I start to break down a little bit of like the first 1.5 rounds of like, okay, how's this person's career in college? Do I think that they would be a good fit? How they do at combine? That kind of thing. More injuries. Injuries are happening everywhere. Austin Eckler is out for 4 to 6 weeks with the leg injury, and Nick Chubb tore his MCL, and he's going to miss several weeks. Another one that I saw recently, which I don't think was on our list, Cowboys left tackle. I forget what his name is, but the Cowboys left tackle got injured. I think he's out for the season, if I remember correctly. But let's move on to the Patriots and the Broncos game is now being moved to Monday evening. The Bills and Titans are set up for Tuesday due to COVID-19. Honestly, I just really want the season to be played and everybody to stay safe and healthy. I just want a full, complete season with people staying healthy. I'm still waiting on the Tennessee Titans, honestly, to get a punishment not because they got COVID and everything. I'm waiting for them to get punished because they got COVID. They were told that if the team tests positive, and they were told that you need to shut down operations, no practice, no this, no this, no this, basically shut down all your field activities. The Tennessee Titans were basically just said, no, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna go ahead and practice anyways, and so nothing has come out from that yet. And Duckmaster, I do agree, they should have to forfeit against the Steelers and the Bills, but I think I've read something on the reason that they're not doing that necessarily, and this sounds really dumb, and I think that if this is true, I think it's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard of, but it was like if the Titans have to forfeit due to COVID, it's going to count as a loss for both the Titans and whatever team they were playing, so that would include like the Steelers and the Bills, which I think is absolutely stupid. I think, no, you guys broke the rules. You guys were told that you can't practice, you can't do this, and you can't hold team activities, yet you did. You automatically get lost. The other team gets an automatic win and move on from there, which honestly I would love because I hate the Titans. I think their fan base is very, very rude, and honestly, most people in the AFC South, like most of the AFC South division, gets along pretty well with each other. We get into it, like, we butt heads a lot just because, like, division rivals is very common. But overall, like, we get along pretty well. We will admit, like, hey, that was a good game. Like, I have zero problems with the Houston Texans. I really like the Houston Texans. They're one of my favorite teams. I had nothing against the Indianapolis Colts. I really like them. The only thing I had against them was when Peyton Manning just decimated the AFC South for over a decade. But Peyton Manning was one of my favorite quarterbacks. And the only reason I hated it is because nobody could beat the Colts with Peyton Manning. And it's honestly just everyone that I've talked to that's been like a fan of the AFC South other than Tennessee Titans fans, no one has really like loved the Tennessee Titans team, and everyone's just, I feel like, has had a rough experience with them. So honestly, I think they should just have to take a loss for both the Steelers and the Bills games if they are unable to play those games due to COVID-19 because they broke league rules in holding team activities. Sorry about my little rant. Try not to do that. McKay's not here to keep me in check, so I'm on my own to keep myself in check. And the only like other thing that me and McKay are just like a little bit of news is we're wondering how long the season will last if COVID-19 tests continue to come up positive like they did with the Tennessee Titans. Just to get my personal thought, it depends. I think that what will happen is if it's basically like an entire team has to shut down for the rest of the season, I think that's when the season will end. If not, I think the NFL is going to keep going all the way up until Super Bowl. That way they can get the extra money. Because for them, I see it being more as we didn't get as much money as possible, rather than we need to keep every single last person safe. And even when they did try to enforce it with the Tennessee Titans, for example, trying to keep everybody safe, the team broke the rules, so who's not to say that other teams won't do the exact same thing, especially because the Tennessee Titans have received 0 punishment so far, so other teams are going to be like, well, what's stopping us from practicing and doing this if they did it and they weren't punished or fined or anything at all? So, yeah. I honestly think we might see the entire full season. If not, we might get like just mid-season or towards the end of the season, every game will be postponed until like spring and summer months, and then go from there. It's going to be very interesting with how everything's going to work out, especially with the NFL draft and everything. So I'm just imagining like if it was postponed to later in the year, but draft happens before that, would they push back draft as well? That way the players can get acclimated with their new teams that drafted them, or would they do the draft and just make those players that were drafted uneligible to play with the team and just not have them count on the 2019-2020 roster and count it towards the 2020-2021 roster, which I think might be the better option. Ugh. Whew. Sorry, throat's getting dry already. We got the wows and the woes. We're going to start off with the wows. Smokin' Joe and Minshew Magic. Joe Burrow and Gardner Minshew have impressive games with both throwing over 300 yards in the matchup. The Bengals sadly get their first win, making the Jaguars fall to 1-3. My goodness, my heart broke when I was watching that game because we were doing so good in the first half. In the second half, our defense just fell apart. Like, we were injured. I think our entire defense was second and third string players at that point. I think there was maybe like one or two starters on the defense actually playing at the second half for the rest of the game. And then I think the biggest controversy that happened for me in this game, Joe Burrow did have a good game here. I'll even give you guys a closer look. The biggest controversy that happened to me is that refs need to let players play, and I don't like refs. Reason being is that there were penalties on both sides, like being called on both teams when they were honestly just playing good football, and I feel like the refs are just very penalty heavy this year compared to others, and a lot of the penalties that they do throw out don't even make sense to me or to a lot of other people watching. The one that really irritated me is that there was a fumble. I forget who fumbled it. It might have been Minshew. I honestly just don't remember because this game feels like it was like 3 weeks ago for me. But there was a fumble and everybody's jumping on it, and our left tackle was basically at the bottom of the dog pile. With it being on the dog pile, like refs, when there's a dog pile, they try to pull people off. During this whole thing, there was one Bengals player like standing over the left tackle, honestly looking like he was about to just jump on him or something. Like just kind of like standing. I feel like he didn't need to be standing that close. Like this Bengals player was standing up, and he's like standing practically with his shins touching the player's head. And then there's a bunch of other people on him. And then two refs, one's like down by his leg, not doing anything, squatted down. The other one's just like hovering over it, like squatted, hovering over his head, and the ref puts his hand in the left tackle's face mask, and like has his hand within the helmet. The left tackle literally just throws his hands up and just pushes up above him just to try to get like hands literally out of his helmet and out of his face and trying to get like people off of him. The ref immediately throws the flag and ejects him for the game. He's like, "No, you hit me." And I'm like, you had your hand in his helmet. Why do you have your hand inside this man's helmet when he is laying on his back with a bunch of other giant linemen and other people laying on top of him? Why do you have your hand in his helmet and not focusing the people on top of the pile, getting them off? Why are you trying to pull somebody out from the bottom who's trapped under like 15 other people? Anyways, it was Joe Burrow did have honestly, I think he only had an okay game. I'm still not completely sold on Joe Burrow. The Jaguars defense is honestly just really, really bad, and if you watch the game or at least watch the highlights, sorry, my microphone turned off for whatever reason. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. That way it doesn't happen again. For whatever reason, it just didn't want to let me talk for whatever reason. Okay, I'm just going to see if I have a video playing in the background on mute. That will work just fine. It's one of our old podcasts, so feel free to check it out on YouTube. Um, Honestly, I'm still not sold on Joe Burrow. I don't know how McKay feels about it. I'm still not sold on him. Jaguars' pass defense is absolutely horrendous. They can never pressure the quarterback. Like, Joe Burrow can basically have all the time in the world. Jaguars' pass rush is not going to get to him. And then all of the safeties, cornerbacks, and everything were starting ones were injured, or they're just really bad and play this weird soft zone, which almost every single play leaves the very middle of the field completely open. Like he was completing passes to players that didn't have anybody within like 20 yards of him. And it's like in the very middle of the field. I'm like, how did nobody see this man? Why is nobody guarding this man? Why is nobody covering him? Like, someone needs to cover. Still not sold on Joe Burrow. I personally still really like Minshew. I know a lot of people are calling for his head. He went 27 for 40 with 351 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception, with an offensive line that gives him so little time. He does make a few mistakes. I will say he isn't perfect. He does make a lot of mistakes, but he's also in his second year. You guys got to give him time. This is his first year as the starter, and with a new offensive coordinator, he's trying to learn and get adjusted to everything as much as everybody else is. But I'm still not sold on Burrow. I personally am never sold on rookies until usually at their second or third season, unless like during their rookie campaign, like a rookie running back comes in, and I think like Alvin Kamara or Saquon Barkley, like both of them were really good, but we're seeing Barkley like start to digress a little bit. So that's just me. The return of OBJ. Moving on. Um, OBJ had honestly one of the best games against the Dallas Cowboys. Just to show everybody what that was like. He had five. He only had 5 catches, but they were for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he made it count. My goodness, he did such a good job, and the Cleveland Browns were able to kind of smack around the Dallas Cowboys, making this final score 49-38, which wow, I'm still like blown away because that was like a 87 point game total, and it's just a really high scoring game. Honestly, it's a good game to watch. It's just really high offense, really high octane. So if you like really just going and scoring and just all guns blazing like the Rams Chiefs showdown a few years back, honestly I feel like it was a little reminiscent of that. Brady brings it back. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers complete an impressive comeback against the LA Chargers and show heart and quest for dominance in the NFC South. Honestly, Tom Brady did what he needed to do against the Chargers. Now we want to talk about young quarterbacks that I feel like are showing a lot of promise. I have more faith in Justin Herbert than I do of Joe Burrow. I think Justin Herbert is going to be something in the NFL. He went 20 for 25, 290 yards with 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's a rookie putting up those numbers and making smart decisions against, honestly, Tampa Bay, who everyone is seeing as like one of the best teams in the NFL, which I'll actually get to a little bit later. Yeah, honestly, really like him, but we're talking about Brady. Brady finds his rhythm again. He looks like the good old. I'm not calling him the GOAT because I don't personally think that he's the GOAT. But he looks like what everyone saw in him when he was in New England doing well in there. He had 5 touchdown passes and only 1 interception. Honestly, you're willing to forgive the 1 interception. You're throwing 5 touchdown passes. He had really strong completion, a lot of yards. I honestly think that he did such a good job this game. The rookie debut of Brandon Ayuk. I'm really sad that McKay isn't here because I remember when the draft was going on and he wanted the Bears to draft Ayuk so bad because Ayuk is from University of Arizona, and McKay's really likes University of Arizona, and he really liked Ayuk. But I know that he was so happy to see that Brandon Ayuk is doing so well. He hurdled his way to a 38-yard touchdown in the matchup against the Eagles. Um, he plays for the 49ers, I believe. Let me double check. Misclicked. My bad. Sorry. Yeah. He plays for the San Francisco 49ers. Honestly, I think the 49ers got something a little special in Brandon Ayuk. I think he's going to be really good for them. Man, he that hurdle was honestly such an amazing play from such a young player, and I can't wait to see more of it. And last but not least for our wows, the Panthers are thriving without Christian McCaffrey. They're able to fix their red zone issues and beat the Cardinals, and I'm actually really happy because this will I'll cover a little bit in our predictions. But let me just say that basically me and McKay had almost all of our games matching. I think this was like the one game that we didn't match, and I won it, which means that we are now tied. But I'll get to that later. But Panthers are doing good. Honestly, it was very concerning seeing how they started 0-2 at the start of the season, and especially with Christian McCaffrey. But they seem to be doing really well without him there. So I honestly think Panthers might have something a little bit going with Teddy Bridgewater. Maybe Christian McCaffrey might have been holding them back in the sense of they were relying too much on McCaffrey. But who knows? So let's move on to the woes. I don't want to speed this up. I don't want to spend forever talking about the wows and the woes, and we're like not even a third of the way through everything, and I need to get off my soapbox more. The woes, we'll speed this up. The Jets being dirty birds. Jets players made dirty hits towards the end of the game versus the Broncos. And Denver Broncos coach Vic Fangio refuses to shake hands with Jets coach Adam Gase. Honestly, I feel like a lot of things transpire. Like, yes, tensions get high, but I feel like you always need to keep your composure and not throw punches. That's always an issue. You should never really have to do that. Just try to walk away, try to calm down. I really wish there was a better way to dealing with like somebody getting in your face and fighting, because everybody's like blood pressure is pumping, their adrenaline high, they feel like they can take on anybody, especially if they make a big play. And whoever they made the big play against, they are ready to fight. They're like, I can beat you up anytime. I just did it. Let me do it again. And yeah, it was a little bit nasty, and I think the Jets are also frustrated because things aren't looking good in New York for them. Speaking of fighting, a brawl in Sophie Stadium. The Giants' Golden Tate and Rams' Jalen Ramsey. Oh, Ramsey. Why are you always getting in fights? They start a brawl in the aftermath of the game. Ramsey was believed to have thrown the first punch. Unclear if fines were handed out. I think I also saw somewhere that it was like talked about where Ramsey was wanting to go to the Giants locker room to fight Golden Tate, like right outside the locker room or in the locker room. Honestly, I feel like he would have been a much better player if he didn't have such an attitude. He used to play for the Jaguars. We drafted him, and I feel like he is a really good player, but he is such a cancer in whatever locker room that he's in. He causes way too many issues. He needs to tone down the attitude just a little bit and just go back to playing football, because that's what he's there to do. He's there to play football, not to start fights and to have all the attention on himself. Bad news Bears. The Colts easily defeat Chicago Bears, holding them to a field goal in the second quarter and a touchdown in garbage time. Foles and the Bears' run game is completely dead thanks to the Colts defense, which is honestly brutal. But I will say, one of the wows. The Bears bounced back in Week 5. They just had their game on Thursday night. They beat Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski. They beat the Buccaneers going 2019. So, honestly, good job, Bears. Like, I was messaging McKay, and he's like, man, we're getting destroyed by the Buccaneers. I'm like, oh, yeah. And then he's like, wait, we're winning. I'm like, do you guys think you'll win? He's like, no, because we never win. And then he's like, the Bears just won. I can't believe the Bears won. I'm like, dude, I'm happy. I'll spoil something. We both predicted the Buccaneers to beat the Bears, but we were both so happy that the Bears won. And then not last. Getting close to there. How about them Cowboys for another woe? The Dallas falls to 1-3, a record that has never occurred during the Jason Garrett era, which they got rid of as a coach. And Dak and Zeke caused multiple turnovers in the loss to the Cleveland Browns. Honestly, I just can't help but laugh because both me and McKay, and I think a lot of people at the start of the season thought the Dallas Cowboys were going to be like a really strong team in a really weak division where they were going to have a cakewalk division and be legitimate Super Bowl contenders. I think even a lot of analysts were saying it was going to be like a Chiefs Cowboys Super Bowl. I personally didn't think that. I thought the Cowboys were going to choke before then, in the playoffs, but I didn't think they were going to choke at the very beginning of the season. Sadly, their division's still wide up for grabs. They can still go into the playoffs. And honestly, it'd be kind of funny if they go into the playoffs with a losing record because I think everybody here. I'm curious now. NFC. Yeah, everyone in their division except for the Giants have one win. The Eagles are winning the division because they have 1.5 wins. That shows you how bad it is. We're a quarter of the way through the season, and an entire division only has one win. It's just ugly in the NFC East. It's the easiest division, honestly. Like, I feel like there's no challenge in there. Niners turnover woes. Backup quarterback Nick Mullins throws 3 interceptions and lost to Philadelphia Eagles, and the Niners fall 2-2 after going to the Super Bowl last season. Honestly, I think half of it is due to them just being so injured with nothing to really back them up on. I think they're just having a really, really rough time dealing with injuries at the moment, and I can't necessarily blame them. They're out their starting quarterback. Raheem Mostert has been out for a long time. Bosa's out for the rest of the season. It's going to be a long, bumpy season for 49ers fans. Going into the woe, so like how I said earlier, the Bears beat the Buccaneers. We got a woe with TB12 dementia. Tom Brady forgets this 4th down and misses the mark and loses the Bears on Thursday Night Football. On the last play, he literally forgot that it was 4th down, and because he forgot it was 4th down, he made some bad decisions which ended up costing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the game. Really hard to see such a good quarterback in Tom Brady forget what down he is on. I really hope that it was a mistake, but at the same time, this might be a sign that Tom Brady, it's time to hang up your cleats, man. You might as well just retire. Just go out. I think he should have retired a while ago and retired out on top. But he's probably trying to do what Peyton Manning did, where come in, win the Super Bowl, and immediately retire after you win the Super Bowl. I think he just wants to establish himself as that and literally go out as saying, the last game I ever played, I won the Super Bowl. And then the last one I kind of already covered. All the NFC East belongs on this list, which literally every single NFC East team is abysmal. They're all bad. Nobody's good. Don't know what to expect. Like, honestly, it's an open race. I thought the Cowboys would be leading this division by a good amount and have it in the bag, but they're not, and it feels weird to say that, and it feels weird to hear coming out of my mouth as well. So let's move on to our Week 5 predictions. Just to give a little recap between me and McKay, last week I got 11 wins, he got 10, which brought our totals to being tied up again. I bounced back, I'm able to tie it up with McKay again, and we're both at 40 right and 1/2 because there was that one tie. I'm doing like ones as I'm doing like the 40-1. The -1 will be the tie. If there's another tie, it will be -2 and so forth because neither of us got it right, but neither of us got it wrong. So it's the only way that it makes sense. Let's start with the Bears and Buccaneers. The game already happened, but what I said was 27-17, the Buccaneers take it. McKay said 30-24, Buccaneers take it. Surprisingly, Bears take it 2019. Next, we have the Bills versus the Titans, which is postponed, but I'm just going to give it out here. Actually, wait, I don't even think they're playing this week. If they're not playing, yeah, they're not playing this week. Oh, yep, they're not playing this week. There's talk that it might happen on like Tuesday or something, but for now. We're just going to skip ahead. Anyways, you know what? I'm just going to say it. We're both predicting the Bills to win. I said 35-21. McKay said 32-27. Game's probably postponed, so we'll just have to wait and see about that one. In case it does happen this Tuesday, you guys have the prediction for that. Next game, Jaguars versus Texans. I said Texans are going to take it, honestly. Nothing's going to improve for the Jaguars unless their defense steps it up. Minshew has been doing well. I feel like the offense has been doing well enough to win these games, where it is all on defense, and I think it comes back to defensive coordinator Todd Wash and the general manager. I don't even remember his name right now. But what really happens when you trade away all your key star players on defense, you're not going to have a defense to really work with. And when you do the same defensive scheme and the same defensive plays every single game and you don't change it up and you don't do more than 2 blitzes an entire game, an offense is just going to run over you, and that's what's going to happen in the Texans versus Jaguars game, in my opinion. So we're both saying, me and McKay both said Texans. McKay's thinking it's going to keep close just because the Texans don't really have a head coach right now. I don't think it's going to be that close. I think Deshaun Watson's just going to have a field day. I said 28-17 Texans. McKay said 28-26 Texans. Whew. All right, next game, we got the Bengals versus the Ravens. Honestly, the only reason it's going to be like somewhat close is because they're division rivals. But me and McKay are both saying that the number 2 AFC team, the Baltimore Ravens, are going to walk over the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, I think, is going to have a bad day trying to go up against this Ravens defense and then up against Lamar Jackson as well. I'm saying 37-21 Ravens. McKay is saying 34-21 Ravens. Whew. Next, we got the Panthers versus the Falcons. This one is interesting because the Falcons have been terrible. They've been choking away leads. Like, it's been 28-3 all season for them. Carolina Panthers start off really bad, but they bounce back and they're having a really strong season so far. I'm thinking me and McKay are both picking the Panthers to win it. I'm saying 27-18 Panthers. McKay is saying 24-19 Panthers. Probably for the same reasons that Falcons, it's just a 28-3 season for them completely. They're choking away all their leads when it looks like they have it in the bag. They just do nothing and lose the game. Next, we got the Raiders versus the Chiefs. The number 1 team, the number 1 seed, the AFC, or not the AFC, well, technically, yes, the AFC, but the Super Bowl defending champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, are playing the Las Vegas Raiders at home, at the Chiefs' home. I don't see any way the Chiefs are going to lose this. I'm saying 38-24 Chiefs. McKay is saying 41-31 Chiefs. Chiefs are just the number 1 team until somebody actually beats them, which nobody has yet. I would definitely say the Panthers and the Seahawks are vying for that number 2 and number 3, and the Ravens are in that 4th as well. But let's move on to the I already read that. Cardinals versus Jets. Like I said before, the New York Jets are honestly probably the worst team in the NFL right now. Darnold is sacking himself somehow. I don't see how Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins just don't control this game. And neither does McKay. Our points are a little off. I'm saying 27-14 Cardinals. He's saying 26-13 Cardinals. We're just like a point off of each other, but we both agree on this. This next game, we got the Eagles versus the Steelers. Honestly, the entire NFC East is a terrible, terrible division right now. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, are undefeated right now. I'm going to double check. Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers are completely undefeated right now, so I don't see any way the Steelers are going to lose to a bad Eagles team within the bad NFC East, especially when the Steelers have home field advantage. Steelers are going to walk away with this one. 31-17 is what I said. McKay saying 29-17. It's just going to be the Steelers steamrolling the Birds. Like, there's going to be some dead birds that night. Let's move on to Rams versus the Washington football team. Like I said, Washington football team is probably the second worst team behind the Jets, so I don't have high hopes that they're going to sneak a win off a fairly strong Rams team. So, and neither does McKay. We're both saying the Rams are going to win it. I'm saying 28-17. He's saying 27-20. Honestly, Washington just needs to be better, especially now that Kyle Allen is starting over Dwayne Haskins. I think the chances are even worse because I think Kyle Allen's worse than Haskins, and Haskins isn't that great. I honestly think if Alex Smith was in, it might be a different story, but it will still probably be the same story either way. Our next game, we got the Miami Dolphins versus the San Francisco 49ers. This is one game me and McKay have different thoughts on. Yes, the 49ers are injury plagued. Yes, they are very badly hurt. However, they, I think, are still good enough to hold off the Miami Dolphins. I don't think the Miami Dolphins are honestly that good of a team either. I would say Dolphins are probably in the bottom five. But I'm saying the 49ers are going to take it 31-24. I think they're going to work around all the injuries that they have. They've done it before on, I think, a stronger team than the Dolphins. They did lose to the Eagles, which was kind of a bummer, but I think they'll be able to rebound from that. McKay says the Dolphins are going to take it, but it's going to be fairly close because let me see what his exact words were, because he messaged me about it this morning. One, he joked about that he needs the Dolphins to win so he can get a leg up on me, because I think this is the only game that we disagree on. And I was like, true, but that's a lot of faith to put in the Dolphins. And what he says, I have no faith in the Dolphins. I have faith the uninjured backups for the Niners will screw it up. So, I'm trusting, what's coming down to is that I'm trusting the second string. He is saying that he does not trust the second string 49ers team to be strong enough to hold off the Miami Dolphins. So let's move on to Giants versus Cowboys. Me and McKay said the exact same thing. The Giants are probably the number 3 worst team in the NFL for me personally. So it was kind of a no-brainer. We both said 31-24. The Cowboys are going to take it and possibly be in the lead for their division with this win. Should be an easy game for them, but as long as they don't screw it up. Next we have the Colts versus the Browns. Honestly, Colts are looking to fight back and trying to get back into that AFC South title race. I think it's going to come down, if they don't win this game, they might be starting to reevaluate a lot of different things, but they need to get back on pace to be able to win the AFC South. Me and McKay are both picking the Colts to win, just with a 1-point variation between us. I said 27-20 Colts. He said 26-20 Indianapolis Colts. One of our last 3 games that we are predicting this week, we got the Vikings versus Seahawks. Honestly, if you were to show me this matchup last year, I would be a lot more interested because Vikings made it to the playoffs, Seahawks made it to the playoffs. Both were really good teams. The Minnesota Vikings have not been able to find their rhythm all season, I feel like, whereas the Seattle Seahawks have been kind of running the show and rolling over most people at this point. Me and McKay are both saying the Seattle Seahawks are going to kind of do that this game with the Minnesota Vikings being bad and keep that roll going. I'm saying 37-24 Seattle Seahawks. McKay says 34-28 Seahawks. Kind of a no-brainer with this one. Our next game, we got... Oh, did we miss one? Oh, Broncos versus Patriots. Okay, no, I did say that. I did say Broncos versus Patriots. I think I'll just re-say it in case I missed it. I honestly don't remember. I said 28-17 Patriots. McKay said 28-23 Patriots. Now that I'm just talking about more, I don't think I covered this one. In all honesty, I think the Patriots are just much better, and without Drew Lock with the Denver Broncos, Joe Flacco starting, I don't think he's going to be any of a threat. I don't think he's going to be anything close to a threat for the New England Patriots, and then Cam Newton, I think, is just going to walk over them. Honestly, I think the Patriots have a fairly easy game this week for Monday Night Football. And that's not even Monday night. That's Monday afternoon starting at 3 o'clock. Really weird timing. And then our last 2 games. Okay, sorry, we're having a backtrack all over the place. I went over to the Bills and Titans. That is happening on Tuesday at 5 o'clock as of right now. We both said that the Bills are probably going to win it. Honestly, I think the Titans should have to forfeit. Chargers versus Saints. We'll go into this one because I already covered Bills and Titans. Honestly, I think the Saints need to win this game. They've won games that they've lost games that both me and McKay thought they would have an easy win over, and they just choked it away and lost it. And the Chargers have been putting a lot of people on notice lately. I mean, what was their last game? Where they put Tom Brady on notice going within a 1 touchdown. They put the Kansas City Chiefs on notice earlier this season with Justin Herbert. Honestly, I think the Saints should be a little worried and not. This is not a game they can afford to lose if they want to win the NFC South away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are looking like the front runners and most likely would win the division. However, I will say that experience is going to come into play for this game. It's going to let Drew Brees work with Taysom Hill, work with Alvin Kamara. I think Alvin Kamara is going to have an absolutely phenomenal game, one of his best yet. And honestly, I think the Saints are going to win it over the Chargers. It's going to be a good game to watch. Honestly, really excited for that Monday Night Football game. Justin Herbert, I think he's gonna have a lot of success in the NFL, but this I think could be a good team to prove it against. He proved it against the Kansas City Chiefs. If he can do it again tonight, I'm probably gonna be sold on Justin Herbert at least for this season, especially over Joe Burrow. I think Herbert's had a lot more struggles than Burrow has, and in the sense of he got thrown in beginning of the season expecting to just be the backup, whereas Joe Burrow came in knowing that he was going to be the starter. And then our Thursday Week 6 matchup, the first game, we got the Chiefs versus the Bills. Honestly, I'm actually really excited for this Thursday Night Football. It's like we finally get one good Thursday Night Football game with both teams leading their division right now. Honestly, both me and McKay gotta give it to the Super Bowl champs, but it's gonna be close. It's not gonna be a blowout like I think a lot of people will think. It could be a bigger blowout depending on if this Titans Bills game actually does happen on Tuesday, because they gotta go from Tuesday to Thursday. That's like a day in between. There's zero time for recovery on that one. But if this game doesn't happen, I think it'll be close. I said 34-31, the Kansas City Chiefs. McKay said 38-31, Kansas City Chiefs are going to take it. And that is going to do it for our predictions. Oh my gosh. Okay, give me 1 second, because there's a lot to cover, people. So give me 1 second. I'm probably going to cut some stuff just so that I can do this more with McKay once he gets back. Whew! Sorry about that. My throat had literally dried out. And looking at this blueprint, I'll just show you guys vaguely, or I'll tell you guys actually. We got our quarter season power rankings. We got our For the Fun, which is I might postpone that just to do it with McKay because it'll be more fun with him here. But we're gonna be talking about our top 5 best NFL stadiums, our top 5 rankings for best logos, our top 5 rankings for best jerseys. That's it. Kind of the stadium, the logo, the jersey. I think I might push back that one just because we are running low on time and I gotta go through the quarter season power rankings for us. And my throat is honestly really, really drying out and starting to hurt a little bit. I don't have a smooth radio voice anymore. Especially because at my job I work at a call center, so I'm basically talking for about 5.5 hours a day, Monday through Friday, so my voice gets a little hammered. So, I just realized my mic cut out, and I don't know how long it's been out for. I don't know why it cut out. So, this is horrible, horrible news. Um, I'm just going to quickly go through the power rankings, not give my explanation for why certain teams are in certain spots. I'm just going to give you guys like the entire rundown of up to where I am so far because I don't know exactly when the mic cut out. I think my mic cuts out after a certain time if there's no audio being played through anything, which is absolutely weird. And without McKay here, I don't have his voice coming through my headset, so it cuts it out. Anyways, number 1, Kansas City Chiefs. Number 2, Seattle Seahawks. Number 3, Green Bay Packers. 4, Buffalo Bills. 5, Pittsburgh Steelers. 6, Baltimore Ravens. 7, Tennessee Titans. 8, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 9, Indianapolis Colts. 10, we got the LA Rams. 11 is the Patriots. 12 is the New Orleans Saints. 13 is Cleveland Browns. 14, Chicago Bears. 15, Vegas Raiders. 16, Carolina Panthers. 17, Arizona Cardinals. 18, San Francisco 49ers. 19, Philadelphia Eagles. 20, Minnesota Vikings. 21, LA Chargers. 22, Miami Dolphins. 23, Detroit Lions. 24, Jacksonville Jaguars. 25, Denver Broncos. 26, Dallas Cowboys. Okay, this is where I think it might have cut out, so I'm just going to do a little mini recap. 27, Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow's looking up. Bengals looked okay against the Jaguars, but the Jaguars are honestly just have one of the worst defenses in the league because they're allowing 30 plus points a game. So not really like anything to get too excited about, but watch for them. Houston Texans 0-4, honestly just off to a really rough start. Bill O'Brien's now gone, so no really bad start when everyone expected them to have at least be 2-2, I think about right now, but they're 0-4, and with no head coach to really guide them, they're not only did they lose the head coach, they also lost the GM, so that's going to be a real fun time in Houston right now. It's going to be a lot of growing pains for them this season. Number 29, we got the Washington football team. Honestly, they're just really bad. The fact that Haskins is getting benched for Kyle Allen doesn't really bode that well for them either. At number 30, we got the Atlanta Falcons. They're just choking every single lead that they possibly get. And I think they've led like 3 games by double digits, and then they just choke it at the end. Honestly, you can't be doing that with not being in the bottom 5. So there they are. The New York Giants coming in at 0-4 for number 31. Giants are just looking horrible. Barkley's out. Daniel Jones looks lost. It doesn't look good. And then at number 32, the New York Jets, they look like the absolute worst team in the NFL. They're 0-4. Sam Darnold is getting sacked by ghosts or by himself. It's just looking abysmal. And with that gets through our power rankings. I am going to let McKay know that we are going to do our For the Fun next time because we're already at 1 hour and 6 minutes, and with my mic cutting out and it not detecting basically for me, so I think that I was still talking when literally it was just me and nobody was listening and nothing could be heard. We're going to call the stream here. I'm going to upload this podcast on YouTube, even though it's going to be really crappy. I'm going to put in the comments like when the audio cuts out, when it cuts back in, and I'll even post our power rankings there. Hopefully next time McKay will be here and we can go through our For the Fun topic and kind of go through everything from there and have a lot better time next week. Sorry this week was very, very rocky and rough. I'm doing the best that I can. It's hard by yourself, and when things keep cutting out on you for no reason, it makes it even a little bit harder. But with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this doesn't happen again because I want to give you guys the best quality content that I can when I'm doing this on my own. I'll try to figure out a solution for next time. I think I might just have like very, very minimal audio, like background audio just to play through my headphones while I'm talking, but I might be able to mute it so that you guys don't hear anything on your end and it'll only be playing on my end. or I can just make it very, very minimal, and that way we don't get trademarked and all other stuff. Make sure that it's music that I can use. But anyways, enjoy your guys' Saturday. Watch some good football tomorrow, and yeah, have a good night, everybody.